the player uses their water balls to create a puddle that turns out to be like 10 feet deep. And we had a lot of fun coming up with ideas for what you might be able to do with these insta-puddles. Like here's a sponge dinosaur that when you get wet, the dinosaur expands. And ultimately, it felt like something that really should be a part of the game. We wanted to create an experience where players felt like we're giving them these toys to go out and play with. But partly because other games have taught players this, and partly because we ourselves and other parts of the game taught them this, players really expected an objective, and so rather than kind of freely exploring the world, they were poking at it, trying to figure out like, what do I have to do? Okay, now like, what do you want me to do? And we just didn't have a good answer to it. Like it's a fun toy to play with, but it's not something that really lent itself to the kind of slightly more goal-directed experience that we found worked best with the other mechanics. So we wanted to give players a sense of freedom, but it turned out that giving them complete freedom had the opposite effect. And here's the vine growing stuff, which we saw a moment ago. This is Kelly Santiago from That Game Company, who was one of our earliest unhappy playtesters of the vine mechanic. It was really fiddly, and when we started off, we wanted it to be something like, we looked at the paint splats as being like just a paintbrush that you're splatting the world with, and we wanted something that felt a little bit more like a pen. Like something that you could draw with, and that players could create, lines or whatever they wanted to do. But actually, in giving players more control, in this case, like you're growing the vine instead of splatting in front of them, you're hitting the vine and causing them to move in straight lines, that more control ended up not necessarily like empowering players, but having the opposite effect. So we went with something that was a little bit less controlled for the next version of the vines, although much more disturbing and actually kind of frightening. So they're almost at this stage, but more like tentacles that are growing out. And at this point in the game, each of the water balls would grow one vine, which again, we felt like we wanted to give players a little bit more control over what was going on. And the direction that we went instead was to give the vines a lot more personality of their own. So in the final game, I don't actually know how the vines work anymore, because we added so many bits of randomness to the way that they behave that sometimes they'll do things that are completely unexpected. Even people that have been working with them for like a year have no idea why the vines did what they did. But it ended up being a really nice counterpoint to something. So instead of giving players like a very fine brush, we've given them essentially another paintbrush of like throwing this green brush against the wall and having the world kind of explode as a result. So rather than growing one vine, I think in the game now it's something like 6 vines that just like explode out for every paintball. And so, like ultimately we had this idea of making something that would empower players by giving them very precise controls, and we found that it was actually more empowering to take that control away and to just make the world a little bit more random and chaotic and a little more explosive and full of life. And then the last thing we're going to show is some concept art from the game development, particularly the